China is preparing to welcome Mark Carney, not as just another visiting leader, but as a state guest personally invited by Xi Jinping. Distinction matters. A Canadian Prime Minister has not made a state visit to China in nearly a decade. The timing of this invitation tells us something important. Beijing sees Carney as a serious, pragmatic leader, one who stood up to Donald Trump without theatrics or public grandstanding. This is not a courtesy stop or a symbolic photo opportunity. It is a reset. From Beijing's perspective, this visit is long overdue. Over the past year, China has been watching Canada closely, paying attention to how Carney handled pressure from Washington, how he resisted being boxed in by tariffs and threats, and how he continued to engage multilaterally instead of retreating inward. In a world where Trump has turned unpredictability into policy, China is actively looking for stable relationships with G7 countries. Under Carney, Canada fits that profile. China's posture didn't change because trust suddenly returned. It changed because strategic necessity did. Canada-China relations have been deeply strained for years. The arrest of Hawaii executives, the detention of Canadians, trade retaliation, and prolonged diplomatic silence froze the relationship almost completely. This visit does not erase that history. It reopens channels that had been shut at the highest level for nearly a decade. That alone is significant. Diplomacy begins with conversation. Until now, that conversation simply wasn't happening. For Canadian canola farmers, this trip is not abstract geopolitics. It's economic survival. China's tariffs on canola have caused real damage, hitting family farms and entire regions hard. While no one expects instant announcements, the stakes are obvious. Beijing has been clear that tariffs can be revisited if Canada is willing to engage in a serious, pragmatic dialogue. Carney understands that, and so does China. But canola is only part of the story. The real pressure point in this relationship is electric vehicles. Canada's tariffs on Chinese EVs were imposed partly under U.S. pressure, and they triggered swift retaliation against Canadian agriculture. The equation now is uncomfortable but simple. China eases canola tariffs, and Canada reassesses EV restrictions. That is not an easy decision. Canada's auto sector is under strain, jobs matter, and any shift carries political risk. But there's a deeper reality Carney cannot ignore. Trump's tariffs have already hurt Canada's auto industry. U.S. protectionism didn't protect Canadian workers. It squeezed them. There's a reason Chinese electric vehicles are at the center of the global debate. It's not just about price. It's about scale, speed, and industrial capacity. China has built the world's most advanced EV ecosystem, from batteries to assembly lines, faster than any other country. Chinese EVs are now competitive not just on cost but on quality, range, and technology. That's why governments in Europe and North America are watching so closely. These vehicles are no longer a future threat. They're a present one. Canada, that creates both risk and opportunity. Simply importing Chinese EVs would offer consumers more choice and lower prices. The benefits would be limited. The larger opportunity lies in manufacturing. Hosting Chinese EV assembly or production facilities could be transformative, creating tens of thousands of jobs across supply chains, logistics, production, engineering, and infrastructure. Canada already has key advantages: critical minerals, skilled labor, and clean energy. It has lacked is diversification of partners. This wouldn't be about replacing domestic automakers. It would be about building parallel capacity, strengthening Canada's industrial base, reducing reliance on a single market, and positioning Canada as a serious player in the global EV transition. Would require safeguards, labor protections, environmental standards, and clear national interest rules. Done properly, it could turn a trade dispute into an industrial strategy. For decades, Canada relied overwhelmingly on the United States for energy, autos, agriculture. That model worked until it didn't. More than 95% of Canada's energy exports still flow south. Trump made it painfully clear how dangerous that dependence can be. Carney has been explicit about the lesson: Canada needs options. China is not the solution, but it is part of the solution. As Canada's second largest trading partner, ignoring China isn't realism, it's self-sabotage. What makes this visit different is Carney's approach. There's no talk of a golden era, no illusions of instant trust, and no abandonment of Canadian values or sovereignty. This is disciplined engagement. Cooperate where interests align, push back where they don't. Avoid dependency. That balance is difficult, necessary, and it's why Beijing takes Carney seriously. Trump is the invisible presence hovering over this entire trip. His tariffs, his threats, his isolationism shape every move Canada makes abroad. Carney's diplomacy in Europe, in China, and in global forums is about one core objective: ensuring Canada is never cornered again. China understands that, and so does Trump. A Canada with multiple partners is a Canada that cannot be bullied. Success from this visit won't come through dramatic headlines or sweeping declarations. There will be no single deal that suddenly resets the relationship, and expecting one would be unrealistic. Real success is quieter and more durable, restoring trust, based dialogue at the highest level, creating predictability for farmers, exporters, and manufacturers, making incremental progress on trade irritants like canola, building options without creating dependence, and buying time to diversify markets, strengthen supply chains, and reduce exposure to sudden global shocks. Mark Carney's visit to China is historic not because it solves everything, because it acknowledges reality. The world has changed. Trade has changed. Power has changed. And Canada is adapting carefully, pragmatically, deliberately. This trip isn't about choosing sides. It's about making sure Canada always has one. This is Capital Insight. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.